Wait, why is that a thing? That's so weird. Hey there, it's Kirsten. Welcome back to the Confident Dancer YouTube channel. If you are brand new and you're just clicking on this video, you've never seen any of my other things, I am a ballet dancer. I used to dance professionally full-time, and now I dance for fun, and I'm a mindset coach for dancers, meaning that I specialize in helping dancers really with the mental side of optimum performance, learning how to train their mind to help them perform their best, and also working through a lot of the challenges and the inner mental and emotional challenges that affects our well-being as dancers. That is really what I do, and I love it. So I make a lot of mindset related videos, but I also enjoy the good occasional commentary video on dance culture. This used to be really popular on my channel back in the day, and I realized it's been a minute, so I thought, what is an aspect of dance culture that I would really love to comment on? And today, that is the hierarchical culture in ballet specifically. This probably applies to other genres, so if you are not a ballet dancer specifically, you are absolutely welcome, and I'm sure you will find some things that you click with in this video. I'd also love to hear if the things I mentioned are present in your genre or not, what's similar, what's different, but my experience really comes primarily from being a ballet dancer, and the ballet world can be particularly special and uptight sometimes. So I want to talk about just this very strongly ingrained sense of a hierarchy in especially the social culture of ballet. Because the more experience I've had in the ballet world, and then also the more removal I've had from it, now dancing for fun, but knowing what it's like to be in that world professionally, I have just enough experience, but just enough removal to be like, wait, why is that a thing? That's so weird. So I'm going to just comment on different ways that I've seen this sense of hierarchy show up, what I think is normal, fine, constructive, and then also could be different. So I'd love for this to be a conversation. So let me know in the comments what your experience has been like, and I will seek to also give some constructive comments or summaries about how can we interact with this? What do I think is good, not good, and how can we deal with it and make changes for the better? So let's just get into it. Okay, number one, when I was dancing as a teenager pre-professionally and then preparing to audition for companies and then eventually dancing in a company, one thing that I noticed as a very, very strong theme, which in the beginning, of course, as a teenager, I just accepted this. It's like, oh, that's just how it is. And then as I got older, I just thought wow, this is kind of dumb. I noticed how we can really take respective authority to another level to where we make the directors and the choreographers who do have decision-making power. I'll give them that. There's a reason why we put them on a pedestal, because they have the keys to giving us something that we want. So I understand what are the forces that are perpetuating this. And I'm not saying it's all our fault, I'm just observing. But something that I see occurring is we go from just respecting or valuing our working relationship with them and wanting to put our best foot forward to hopefully get the outcomes from them that we want, like good casting or whatever, a contract. And we take it to another level where we then kind of make them a demigod in our minds, where it's they just have so much power, and they walk in the room and you're all totally stiffening up, and you stop acting like yourself, and you care so much what they think that you will just do backflips into eternity to make them happy. I see this a lot, and some people are more willing to play the game than others. Sadly, I've seen that contributing to success. So sometimes, to be very cynical for a moment, I have seen one success being dependent on how much you're willing to play the game and lose yourself, so to speak, for the art form, but it doesn't always have to be the rule. It kind of depends on the leadership, the culture of the company. Sometimes you really don't need to sell your soul for ballet, but a lot of times I do see that. I've seen it being taken to this extent where a director figure is put on a pedestal so much in our own minds as dancers, to where it's you kind of forget that they're also a real person. And it's so easy to take any little mannerism or look that they give you or comment as fact, like universal truth that means absolutely everything about who you are, instead of just like taking it into account like, oh, if that comment kind of rubbed you the wrong way, I know it's difficult, but you're allowed to filter through that and be like, okay, they're a human too with a personal life. I don't know, maybe they have hemorrhoids or something and they're just in pain and they're having a bad day. That's graphic, I'm sorry. But it's like they have outside forces going on that they bring into the studio, unfortunately, like anyone does. We do it too as dancers. And so I think it can be really healthy to give respect where respect is due. Yes, try to have a good professional working relationship. And yes, I'm not saying don't care completely, because I understand when someone has decision-making power, you want to do what you can to create positive influence with them so then they give you what you want. I get that. But I think it can be super healthy. At least I found so much inner peace from this as I got older, in just making a practice out of saying they are a person too. They're allowed to have their thoughts and opinions. I'm allowed to have my thoughts and opinions and feelings. And it doesn't mean I'm going to outwardly be like, I disagree when they say something to me I don't like, but I am allowed to have kind of an inner boundary where I'm like, okay, I'm going to take what was helpful and leave the rest, or just kind of ask like, what was their intention in saying that to me? It's so helpful to have those boundaries, and I think it assists us in that process of being able to have those boundaries, to just remember they're a person too of equal worth and value to you. They're just there doing their job. Like, let's just be a little bit more objective about it instead of being like, you are the director of this company, oh my gosh, let me bow down to you and make a shrine in my backyard. It just goes too far. Now, I will say some directors love that and they perpetuate it. So again, please don't hear that I'm like blaming dancers for this. It's just something I want to call out and invite us all to be aware of, just to say, hey, maybe I do believe you have a choice to interact with this differently. So if you see this behavior in yourself, I've done it before too. Yeah, it might not be like your fault that the culture influenced you to develop that mentality, but I'm not really interested in pointing fingers and blaming like whose fault it is. I'm rather focused on like, okay, let's notice it and ask like, how can we have an empowered response? That's just personally where I'd like to spend my energy, though I know that there are plenty of more like activist figures in the dance world who do want to say like, hey, actually we do need to point out where this is coming from. That is totally valid, totally valid. I'm just saying the perspective I tend to come from is like noticing what is and seeing how we can, as individuals, make empowered choices to move forward. So just saying that so you don't misunderstand me and think that this is a whole video about being like, this is dancer's fault and why are we being so silly? No, I understand it's nuanced and I have all the love and grace and everything good towards all of you watching. Yeah, not interested in like victim blaming or anything, because I do know that some choreographers or teachers or directors like actively love that people put them on a pedestal and want to elicit that response from dancers like you. So I get it. Multiple factors here, just pointing it out. Hey there, I hope you're really enjoying this video, but I just need to ask you something really quick. Is self-doubt really just sucking the joy out of dancing for you? Is being in your head and being self-critical and not feeling good enough, like even if you look fine on the outside and you're just plowing along, is that affecting your ability to perform and enjoy dance while you're at it? If those mental struggles sound familiar, or others like performance anxiety, perfectionism, comparing yourself to other dancers, any of those things, if those are impacting your ability to perform your best and feel your best consistently, then you don't have to keep struggling. I'm so passionate about this, and I want to talk to you about the Confident Dancer Coaching Program. This is a coaching program that focuses on the mental side of dance, where you and I can work together individually to truly help you to build the belief in yourself, let go of all the negative programming in your mind that's impacting your ability to perform in your experience, and help you truly build the confidence to thrive as a dancer and fulfill your personal potential. If that's something that you want, you can click the link in my description box to visit kirstenkemp.com, learn more about the Confident Dancer Coaching Program, what it includes, how it works, read incredible testimonials from past clients who've worked with me, and schedule a free 30-minute consultation where you and I can connect, talk about your goals and challenges, absolutely no strings attached, and just see if working together would be a great fit for you and your goals. If that's something you're interested in, definitely take advantage of that free consultation. Give yourself a chance to truly thrive as a dancer, and I hope to talk to you soon. And that is all I have to say. I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. let's move on with it. The other thing I noticed is, especially in companies, this is not always the case. There are some companies where people are chill, they're nice. There's a nice little working culture and all the different ranks will talk to each other. But what I also noticed is that the hierarchy is really ingrained and it comes out in how the dancers treat each other. Like, if you are having more success in the company, or I'm sure it's also prevalent in schools, I saw it there too. If things are going well for you or you're at a higher level, you don't really talk to the people at a lower level. You only associate with the people who are like as good as you. Okay, I get it. As humans, we are somewhat wired to go towards social relationships that serve our ultimate goals, and then also moving towards people who are most similar to us. I get that. However, it just, again, it goes too far. And I noticed that there were some wonderful dancers that I encountered in the many years that I was dancing full-time as a student and then professional, where there would be some who I could tell they were just really grounded in who they were as a person, like a whole person. And I would see those people not caring who they were talking to. You know, they would talk to someone who was an apprentice when they were a soloist. And I just thought that was so beautiful and refreshing, and it really inspired me as a dancer. And I want to encourage this as food for thought for you watching. I want to encourage this behavior of like talking to people who are different ranks or different levels or levels of accomplishment. Talk to different people, whether you perceive they're better than you or worse than you. Like, don't put the people above you on a pedestal, and don't act like the people at a different level are lower than you. They could, you know, be just as great to talk to as people. And I think that could be a really positive change to continue to create in the dance world at large, just to have different levels and ages and experience, like different people talking to each other as equals. I always found that to be extremely refreshing when I found that in my journey, and I definitely appreciated it because it was not always present, and I thought it was kind of ridiculous, to be honest. And something fascinating along that line is to tell you a bit of my experience. When I was experiencing a knee injury in the company I was in, a lot of people were super nice, great, checking in on me, being real friends. That was awesome. Something weird also happened where in the beginning of the injury, when people kept asking me like, oh, when are you coming back? When are you coming back? And I would kind of have an answer because, you know, in the beginning, you're really hopeful and you're like, doctor said 3 months, so I'll be back doing Grande Allegro at 3 months to the day, you know, or I'm going to do all the PT, so I got to be 2 months. You know how that goes. And then how it actually goes is, you know, it tends to take more time than that. And then for me, when I ended up needing to get a surgery and then things weren't looking so good, and when I actually did choose to step away from dancing full-time, I noticed that there was this switch in some people. This is me assuming things and making a story where maybe it wasn't totally true, but also I had a lot of time to sit there and observe people's behavior. And I'm a big fan of like just psychoanalysis. Obviously, I do it appropriately, but I like to form a hypothesis, and I know it's a hypothesis, but anyway. I wondered if some people suddenly stopped looking at me or talking to me, like very suddenly. It's like I ceased to exist. And I wondered if it was because I was no longer like fully in the company. And I also might have resembled their greatest fear. Like, it's a huge fear of so many professional dancers that they would make it that far and then have a career-ending injury. And so I wondered, like, since I no longer resembled hope for them, that people just didn't want to even think about it. They didn't want to entertain that reality, and I resembled that reality for them. So they just stopped talking to me. And I was like, oh, cool, very cool. That feels very good after I've gone through one of the hardest times of my life. Thanks, guys. But I, you know, want to spread love and grace there because I do have forgiveness, and I totally understand, like, partially trying to practice that understanding and building that narrative in my mind kind of helped me to cope with it and just be like, okay, that's where they're at, this is where I'm at. I'm going to really appreciate the people who have been there for me. But I just thought that was interesting. Like, ballet specifically is honestly very cult-like. When you're in it and when you like ascribe to the lifestyle, the beliefs, the behaviors, there will be a lot of acceptance for you. And then the second you start to deviate from that, especially when you're in these like professional environments, the cult doesn't know what to do with you anymore. Now, obviously I'm being really dramatic, and this is not a very flattering or I'd say even fair comment to make because it doesn't describe every company out there. I'm just sharing kind of a dramatization of my experience. And I've had a couple friends who have left and rejoined companies, and they're like, yeah, that actually describes it pretty well. And here's a funny thing though. Once I went from kind of being the injured girl to then starting this business and kind of eventually having the appearance of success, like people noticed I was actually working with clients, I was actually getting speaking engagements, and especially once I started to do collaborations with like bigger accounts and just have these various social proof signals that I was doing well, I saw that I was immediately received so well by dancers that I'm pretty sure they would never talk to me if I was just in the court of ballet somewhere. I want to be generous and say it's probably because maybe they felt there wouldn't be a reason. You know, there are tons of dancers in the court of ballet at their company, so why would they talk to me? What's special about me? I get that. You know, I hope that you hear I say everything with as much understanding and grace as I could possibly have. I'm just kind of observing it and being like, what? That's weird. But I have kind of chuckled to myself to notice like how many people of all sorts of ranks and statuses that I probably would have never had social access to will suddenly talk to me so easily as an equal, or even be like, oh wow, what you're doing is so great. And I just find this really interesting. Like once people had kind of a box to put me in, then it's suddenly like I could kind of talk to any rank that I wanted. But when I was in the system of ballet, I only could really associate with people around my level. And now what I've noticed, and I will say thank God that I honestly do thank God that I'm not like fully involved in being in a professional company at this time in my life. And I'm so glad that I was born when I was born, because I just exited my training years and started dancing professionally right around the time where Instagram was becoming popular. I am so grateful that it wasn't before that, and that I didn't grow up in this age of like not only needing to impress people in person with my actual dancing, but also like having a social platform. Because now I notice like some of the young clients I've worked with, they talk a lot about like wanting to be ambassadors for different dancewear brands or summer intensives or whatever. And that's like something that they're actively putting energy towards to enhance their sense of status and to be respected. And that's just a whole other level of pressure and expectation. We're also looking at like, what do your photos look like on Instagram? How many likes do you get? How many followers do you have? Oh my gosh. That is just an added level of pressure that I really have so much compassion for that dancers these days really have to go through. I mean, have to is a strong word, are likely to go through that. So I'm just seeing that also affects what people's social status is in the dance world. It's like, what's your social media presence like? Then I'll kind of know what box to put you in. And so I think to kind of sum this up, I want to invite you in the comments to kind of share your experience and tell me your insights on this. And I also just want to emphasize, I do, again, think that respect is great, and a lot of these behaviors are just natural to human beings. I do believe that this sense of having a hierarchical culture is very ingrained in just human behavior, so it's not necessarily bad. I just think and have seen that, especially in the ballet world, I think it gets taken to a level that's actually quite extreme and unhealthy. So my invitation, and this, again, I share this from personal experience because I found it to be very beneficial. Remember that everyone is a person, just like you. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt and saying that they are doing the best they can with what they know and the resources they have available right now. So always have grace. But I want to invite each of you watching to be the person who will show respect and, you know, whatever you want to share to people who you admire. But do remember that they're people. Try to talk to them like they're people with respect and all that stuff. Let's start to add into our culture this sense of normalizing talking to all sorts of people as if they're just like you. Because when you do that, you'll find that there are a lot of similarities. I'll end the video here. I know it's getting kind of long, but again, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Keep it respectful, keep it nice, please. But let's continue this conversation in the comments. So I hope that you found something interesting or helpful from this video, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, bye.